Kayode joins me now as we run through some of the things you've been saying on social media, especially our platform of choice, which is X. Kayode.
There you go. Obviously, the president's speech has been the major talking point for a lot of people, and I suspect that it will be the case for the coming days. But what are you saying, particularly when the president spoke to the subsidy part, which is like top on the list of demands for the protesters? Whatever charter of demand you're looking at, you will always see the issue of subsidy removal. Some of them calling for a return of subsidy, saying that is why we're here, basically, because food prices are expensive, inflation is climbing by the day as a result of that. So when the president, Jeffrey, said that petrol subsidy removal is painful but necessary, that meant one thing to a lot of people: this removal has come to stay. So the very first user that has this comment, Annie_Opana, says, painful but necessary care. Now I need to explain that. When you say, when you end a line by care, it just basically means, what do you mean by painful but necessary? So that's an expression here in Nigeria. Goes on to say, why weren't there measures put in place to curb the price flow of fuel before subsidy was removed? And what is the way forward on the fuel matter now? Nothing. This user ends by saying, what a government.
This is literally what the president has been saying time and again. He just repeated what he's been saying. So repeat and rinse situation when it comes to that fuel subsidy. But let's go. But I must see, Wale says, petrol subsidy is the lifeblood of the Nigerian economy. You cannot remove it. I guess that's what you wanted to say. Why you continue to import fuel? No this and no peace. That means, President, there can't be peace for you as long as we continue to buy this fuel at exorbitant price.
And I think it's clear for everybody to see. So what are the buffers? And I think that's also another bone of contention. So if this was removed, it's like you're removing an organ. What are you putting back there to at least, if you remove a heart, for example, or if you do some work on a heart, you put something there to ensure that the human is still, pumping blood. George Waifo is next with this one. My question is, a list of questions from this user. 1, how can I cope with paying high petrol prices that have skyrocketed? 1. 2, how can I pay for the high cost of foodstuff? 3, how can I pay the high tariff for electricity? 4, how can I watch while those in government loot and share our commonwealth?
Okay, Mike Onyebade says, why should the removal of petrol subsidy be painful when it's supposed to bring benefit to the masses?
Well, Uzo Henry is next, saying, Nigerian governors, so this is targeted at all of the governors. It's not
all inclusive.
I imagine if the FCT minister is part of it. Governors.
He's part of it.
It's part of it.
But it doesn't bear the title governor, but it's part of it, apparently.
There you go. So this user says Nigerian governors have been pushing for fuel subsidy removal since the administration of the Buhari administration, that they need more money. So President Tinubu
has given them.
Okay, yes, has given them 570 billion to 36 state governors to provide food and others for their residents. How far? So I'm glad we did a breakdown of this yesterday, because when you convert it to the dollar, which we always use as a baseline, you realize that they're actually not getting more than they used to get before. But that's a conversation for the coming minutes.
So the argument sometimes, which some people make as far as this is concerned, is they don't believe in the frugality or the prudence of the governors to manage resources properly. So why give it to the people that can't manage resources? Why don't you use that money you're giving to governors to give all of us by subsidizing fuel? But that's the argument. We're going to continue that conversation with our guests.
But can the governors at least come out to say, if people are accusing you of being not prudent,
or being reckless,
you come out and say, no, as a governor of this state, this is what I have done with it, and you can go to the bank. I am being transparent and accountable. Is it hard to do?
They will answer for themselves. There are 36 of them and the FCT minister. I'm not one. Nigerian Prime says, removal of subsidy only transferred government expenses to the people, meaning more money for government to spend on their extravagances and less money for the people. It adds zero value to the net trade of Nigeria and only puts pressure and pain on the people.
There you go. So what Nigerians did naturally was to pieces, as they say, the president's speech, put it into different parts. How does
it?
Exactly. How does it address the different yearnings of Nigerians? So another part of the protest or the agitation which the president spoke to is that the protesters should suspend the End Bad Governance protests and embrace dialogue. Don't forget that the protesters had said they will be on the streets for 10 days. So this is expected to be
day
five, right? So the president is essentially saying, don't bother to do day 5 to 10, okay? Suspend it and let us dialogue. What are you saying?
So the language you use, I'm not sure what to make of it, whether it's an order or it's an appeal. The language is, I enjoin you. So maybe it's neither here nor there. Yeah. But the feelers people are getting is that will not give some mischievous elements, both state and non-state actors, some impetus to go against people that are protesting legally. So sometimes the language has to be very clear.
Indeed.
Anyway, but he said, come, let's dialogue.
Absolutely.
So the
let's
first
see.
one.
Jadowski, 2010, says, successful implementation of the president's initiative could be a game changer for Nigeria. A 2-year timeline, 1 year for rollout, 1 year for evaluation allows for accurate assessment of impact and effectiveness. However, rigorous FG monitoring is crucial to deliver results. So this speaks to timeline, the time bit of making a goal smart. I think that's it.
All right, God's will with numbers says President Tinubu broadcast sounds hopeful, but not being felt by Nigerians in fostering actualization due to today high cost of petrol, food, and security that is on a daily increase. Let him walk the talk. Allocate monies to, as he stated, are not felt by Nigerians. Or allocated money, I guess that's what you want to say.
Yeah. Zibobai is the next user here, and this is a summary of what this user says. The president did not address the plight of the masses and the cardinal reasons for the ongoing protests. So, again, we've heard this time and again, we've seen this time and again. So this user ends by saying, and they think the protesters will back down because it's opting for dialogue. So the question is, it's a 10-day protest, or it's meant to be a 10-day protest.
In the first instance.
In the first instance. So at what point is dialogue an option? And I think it's important to have that on the table. So do you want those demands to be met before you return or stay off the streets? Or you want to take a moment, dialogue, and still continue the pressure? We'll see how that goes.
Okay, so let's see. Some people have said the president didn't address the brutal crackdown. Okay, that's Professor Soyinka. I must put that on. Professor Soyinka says the president failed to address or didn't address the brutal crackdown on protesters. Collins Opara, in your response to that, says this criticism suggests that Soyinka believes the speech ignored and inadequately responded to the violence against those demonstrating, which could imply lack of accountability and recognition of issues at hand.
Jeffrey, can we step back for a moment and just look at the optics? So this is someone, Professor Wole Soyinka, that said, well, I will not criticize this government after 1 year. And
a lot of pasta.
Well, yes. And a lot of people said, no, why would you say that? But hey, he has a right to say that. So now he has spoken about the president's speech. And then for him, what he didn't like about the speech was the president not addressing the crackdown on protesters, even though the police had put out a statement explaining the incidents across the state and what was responsible for that. So I wonder if this would appease those who had said, why is Professor Wole Soyinka not speaking to this government? I wonder if that would be enough for them. And
you have the next one.
Usupedo Charles says the speech didn't address the agitators' demands, right? The high fuel price, high rate of dollar that is causing hardship, and high inflation is not addressed. There is nothing like free market economy. It is hoarding of dollars.
All right, this one has to do with some people reacting to the fact that I didn't address the demands of the young people, and so the protest has to continue. So many, which of the handle is yours, by the way? Is it Humanist Adeyemi?
Yeah.
I guess that's it. So this is what you're saying. Since President Tinubu fails to address our demands, which includes reduction in fuel price, reduction in electricity tariff, reduction in school fees, re-evaluation of the Naira, protest continues.
Well, on the flip side, Amos Ogunle 7288 says, we are youth with knowledge. Put yourself in his shoes. And I imagine put yourself in President Tinubu's shoes, this user says. He said, come, let us dialogue. I think that statement has settled everything under democracy. One step at a time. Let's give him that respect as a president of Nigeria.
So another question is, who is he dialoguing with? We're going to come to that later on.
Because this was a point that was raised earlier on, Jeffrey. So who do you dialogue with? Take It Back movement or the other groups, or you bring them together?
I think the right thing to do is, it's very funny that when they were trying to stop the protesters, from the records we have seen, let's put that contextually, we didn't see them really call the protest, or maybe they invited the protesters and they did not show up. So that could be another reason. But the people that eventually launched these protests, we didn't see them on television visiting the State House or anyone for that matter. So, but they are the ones that showed up and said, and if you look at it, at the end of the day, they are not demanding anything personal.
Right.
There's a collective
so
that
a lot of
affects
people
all
can
of
relate
us.
to them.
So whether it's Take It Back or more groups or whoever, Nigerians were even angry that you're calling monarchs, you're calling traditional rulers, you're calling clergy, you're calling all groups. People are withdrawing from protests that they didn't plan and all of that. Put that aside. There are people that have decided to show up and say, we're going to protest against bad governance. Maybe you invite those ones and maybe have a talk, because what they are demanding, they didn't say give us money.
Right.
They are the demand, even if it's a lot of demands. Maybe you look at the ones that you can handle. So
just to put that in context, Jeffrey. So the case that was taken to court in the FCT about whether or not to use the Eagle Square, the first to fit defendants in that case, Omoyele Sowore, Damilare Adenola,
Take It Back group,
Adama Okpabi, Tosin Asogba, and
I know the group. I know that.
Persons unknown, infamous persons unknown. So are these the people that will maybe dialogue with government, or there are others? We'll wait to find out.
We'll wait to find out. So, Right Comic says, while President Tinubu has acknowledged the youth's concerns and the pain behind the protest, it's crucial for tangible actions to follow. We hope for a clear plan and commitment to address the demands of the End Bad Governance movement is essential for the future.
Fashawe Matthew 9 says he has spoken. Let's be patient. That's all this says he can say, or she can say. And if we feel that he has not addressed the main issue, maybe you should help him out by dialogue. Okay. Try to piece together the thought process here, but that's what this user has to say.
Okay, I think this is S_so_true. The ordinary Nigerian on the street doesn't relate. All sounds great on paper, but it's not felt in the real world. All missed opportunity for the government to not change the negative feelings the people have for them.
There you have it. So those are some of the reactions to the president's speech. But what exactly is happening on the street? While we cannot tell you what will play out today, but we'll of course let you know as soon as they play out. We can show you what played out yesterday.
Exactly.
And, let's
Here in
zoom
Lagos.
in on Ojota, which has been a major spot for the demonstration in the past 4 days. So we saw yesterday, and there you have it, some hoodlums chasing the End Bad Governance protesters from that area, and it was just very shocking to see one of them even falling right there as he was running. And they came back to say, well, and this is our Nigeria. Nobody can chase us from where we ought to. And in fact, this protester, Jeffrey, was really
angry with the police.
So you were here, and then you allowed this happen.
So that's the issue. So the argument is, one of the police, I think the ACP, Assistant Commissioner of Police, was saying that, oh, the president has addressed you, go home. But they are not looking for an address. They are looking for their demands to be met.
They're looking for redress.
Yes. They are looking for it's not, because we've said before now, president come out and speak. But it's not just speaking. The action you take, what you say will matter. So that's the police officer who was speaking to the protesters. So let's see what your reactions are. Udemayapan says, it's really sad that even Mr. President has spoken to them this morning, they still came out to protest. I think they should give the government some time to address these issues.
And this user, Daddy Twin, says, police, kindly return to Ojota so that, this user says, anarchists who send thugs there themselves will not say it is the government. When doing permutations, do not leave anything out.
All right, Jonas Ezechuku says, very sad. Okay, your handle is Jonas_ENGR. Very sad hoodlums have license to operate in broad daylight without police arresting them. Story for the gods. So that's a big question. So that's a question I would like to ask the CP or the ACP who was there if I am speaking to him. A lot of people, miscreants, hoodlums that were not protesters were arrested in parts of the country for, destroying property and doing things that are unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Now we can clearly see hoodlums. They are caught up. This is not the first time. And I like Lagos because evidence is everywhere. NSAS, we saw hoodlums attacking peaceful protesters. We have seen another set of hoodlums, or I don't know what to call them now, but they were attacking protesters with weapons. I mean, sticks and all of that, things that could harm the protesters. Did the police arrest those guys? If the police did not arrest those guys, then they have a lot of questions to answer, because this one's on camera. We saw like 7 or 8 of them trying to chase the protesters. So they're identifiable. Police saw them. They are disturbing the peace of those protesters who are peaceful. Did the police arrest them? That is a question the CP of police, CP of Lagos has to answer.
All right. So it's important to put that out there. In fact, Professor Wole Soyinka spoke to that yesterday as well. Adejude 1884 has this next one saying the hoodlums cannot match the number of people. So yes, but we do not want to see a total outbreak.
No, we don't want to see that.
Of conflict, war, and the rest. Let's just keep it this way and expect that the police will do what they ought to do. So they will get tired as time goes on. Hoodlums are paid, but people are not paid for this.
All right, so we've also heard that the governor of Lagos said, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, that also goes to him. He has commended the protesters for their peaceful disposition and all of that. I think one of the statement reads, in demonstration of the Lagos State government to continuous engagement with youth, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has directed that despite the stoppage of the protest and dialogue engagement, he said a lot of things that we will not be able to go through, but bottom line is that he's opening a channel for communication.
Right.
He's commended the protesters for the peaceful disposition. But as media, we're saying those guys who went to attack peaceful protesters, the governor and the CP should get them arrested.
Get this, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
I think a day before that or 2 days before that, one of those on the streets was actually slapped.
Yeah.
By someone, a hoodlum, obviously, and I'm not sure that person was arrested. I would have been shocked if that same person is part of the
it
people
happened. Our cameraman, our reporter, Kelly Giga, one of them hit his microphone and slammed it live on TV where we're interviewing him. So when we talk up to government, so these are the things that give you bad or good optics. If you go after protesters for whatever reason, and clear hoodlums who work for whoever are not arrested, then it doesn't make sense to anyone. So if you want to really get this in equated and allow democracy to thrive, those hoodlums must be arrested as well.
Let the force go round.
Okay, let's
balance the force. If you are protecting protesters, if you say you want to protect them, really protect them. Absolutely.
So now that, we have a lot to talk about as far as this issue is concerned, all that's happening in Lagos and across the country, but especially the president's speech. That's what we'll start from. His characterization of that speech, his disposition, and some of his decisions. Were you impressed? Were you disappointed? We'll find out with our guest. Join us again.